Juliet Naya Kemi Bennett, thank you so much for being here. Such a pleasure to have you be a part of the 2026 Women of Color Leaders Symposium. I am excited about your talk. And ladies, just take a deep breath, lean back, relax, take in the blessing and the gift that's coming to you. And thank you for being here. Let me tell you a little bit about Naya Kemi. She today is going to talk to us about the grief and ancestral forgiveness. That is the title of her workshop. Again, grief and ancestral forgiveness. And Juliet Naya Kemi Bennett is an NCCAOM board certified licensed acupuncturist, trained in both Chinese and Japanese acupuncture. Juliet is also a clinical herbalist in Chinese and Native American herbal medicine. Juliet's particular passion is in community health and the health concerns of women, particularly the emphasis on working with women that have tested positive for HIV and AIDS and reproductive health. Juliet ardently believes that the health challenges of our humanity must address wellness as a birthright, and that no community should suffer the absence of that right. Through the process of self-actualization, individuals and communities are able to access their potential for transformation, make informed choices, and become well. With the use of acupuncture, herbal medicine, heart-centered listening, and compassionate touch, Juliet stands as a committed vessel for the manifestation of wellness for all. Ladies, I am honored to present to you my friend, my colleague, Juliet Naya Kemi Bennett. Juliet, thank you again, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Santa, and greetings to you all, and welcome to this awesome symposium. Again, I'm Juliet Bennett, honoring the Lenape ancestral stewards of this land here in Brooklyn, New York, and the ancestors of my own lineage. And I offer you the opportunity to honor your ancestors. Again, I'm honored to be sharing this space and time with you today. I just wanted to send love and healing light to our planet home, that is in this fiery energy that we are all traversing, and where I hope we will find and to be supportive of the earth and all of its dwellers, finding its way to harmony and balance, ultimately for the good of everyone and all sentient beings. But before we dive into our work together today, dealing with and looking at grief and ancestral forgiveness, I'd like to invite us to center ourselves in this moment, and to find comfort in our bodies and ease of mind, with a deep releasing breath, and to give ourselves some grace today. So let's just take a quick moment to take 3 deep breaths. Alrighty, so when you're ready, which I hope is right in this moment, is to just take a nice deep breath in and breathe in peace and breathe out chaos. Breathe in gentleness and breathe out harshness. And lastly, breathe in love and breathe out even more love, that it will spread and transform the energy around all of us, again, for the greatest good of all. Thank you. In addition to, this whole process, I want you to consider making your wellness and your well-being in this process priority. And so I urge you to use your complete authority to make sure you're comfortable and you have all you required to take care of yourself during our time together, whatever that is. Have some water, have some tea, get up and move, do whatever it is that's going to make you feel most comfortable. So as Santa mentioned, I'm a practitioner of Eastern medicine, and I'm also a clinical herbalist. And mind, body, and spirit are always dignified in my work. But something that I've recognized in my work is that there are symptoms and pathologies that no matter the protocol, many client disharmonies have stubbornly remained or returned. And, I certainly am not suggesting that every treatment will always have the desired outcome, but something lingered in my spirit that moved me to consider the possibility that our imbalances may go even deeper. And this is where the ancestors decided to step in. So, as many of you may well know, much research has been done in the science of epigenetics, um, the concept that behavior and environment impacts the expression of our genes. While this is quite valid, I support it 100%. I wanted to find some next steps that felt more basic yet deeper. This seeking brought me to the grief that we've held for generations, our ancestral grief. Undeniably, grief is multi layered and complicated, and it reveals itself in many ways. And so, our work today is both deep and superficial, yesterday and today. Grief is not only the loss of a deceased one or feeling betrayed or heartbreak or other traumatic events, for sure. It's more than that, or lots of things attached to that. And so I hope we can touch upon today is to look at the connection we have to our ancestors, to find our way in our travels with them, to honor, acknowledge, and forgive them and forgive ourselves. So let me share what I mean by forgiveness on both ends. So just allow me to share part of my grief story so that we can maybe put this in some context. I grew up in the Jim Crow South in the 1950s, which implanted many grief stories in my spirit. The obvious for colored only and for white only restrictions are not the deepest root of my ancestral grief. One level of my grief is feeling completely unprotected and powerless. And let me tell you why. Jim Crow 1950s left many Southern Black communities vulnerable to the whims of the white community without recourse. And as feisty as my grandmother was, Ibaye, God bless and rest her soul, I remember the terror in her eyes when her sons had to leave the community for work and the conversations she had with them. And of course, this isn't just limited to her sons. The daughters were also considered, but particularly her sons. And those of us who know the talk is super, super implanted and embedded in the Black community. So some of the things that she would say that I would be listening to her telling her sons is to make sure you keep your head down when you encounter a white person. Don't look at a white woman under any circumstances. Keep that head down. Make sure that you look away. Cross the road and always let a white person pass first. And only speak when spoken to, and to make sure you say yes, sir, and yes, ma'am. That was the protocol. Make sure that you're safe, that I can see you at the end of the day when you return. So, what it made me feel like was that our protectors could not protect us. If a white person decided to accuse us of any wrongdoing, uh, abduct us, or violate us in any way, we had no recourse with that. So, and what I know is that my grandmother and her mother's mother felt the same way, always unprotected. This feeling, this energy requires healing through forgiveness. If my gene pool and future gene pool is to live in wellness. And what I can share is that we lived in fear. And in Chinese medicine, fear is processed through the kidneys and urinary bladder, the water element. That womb safety net wasn't there. And the way that I have finally figured this out is that there's practically no one in my long, extensive family line on my mother's side that don't have these fluid buildups under the eyes, these bags under our eyes. If you encounter anyone in my family, 10 of us at the same time, we're all going to have that look. And this is the epigenetic process that I can see having happened in my family. So this is the pathological sign of kidney disharmony, which I just shared was the depth of our fear showing up again and again and again. And so I recognize and acknowledge that grief, mine and my ancestors. So today I'm hoping we can honor our ancestors and ourselves by creating just a little brief ritual of forgiveness and create a different inheritance. So just let us turn over those boulders of grief and claim our birthright to wellness. So, grief and ancestral forgiveness echoes from our birth line, from our bloodline. Um, we are inheriting this energy of pain and suffering, but the goal again today is to change that. And what do we want to do? How do we want to recreate that energy when we begin to really understand that many, many times the grief that we carry is not our own. We carry the grief of our ancestors. And again, healing this by understanding this, it's what's going to bring justice to our ancestors and claim justice for ourselves. So, one of the things that is really important is to just kind of differentiate the spaces of grief so that we can really understand like what's our own personal grief. How do we identify that? And of course, we're not going to have time to get into that, but as you move through your life, to be curious enough to know how to separate those current and personal griefs, the family grief, collective and community grief, our historical grief, and finally our ancestral grief. So I want to encourage you to do whatever research you can to make sure that you're walking in this process with real clear guidance. And so I think the first thing that's super important is that we just acknowledge our ancestors. They're always there, they're always walking with us, they're always present, always available. And that we have this exchange. So we say to them, we see you, we're here, and they're saying the same thing to us. We see you, and we're here. And so I think that that's the first step in our healing process, our grief process, and our forgiveness process is to acknowledge our ancestors. And to recognize them, and not just for the wounds and burdens that they've carried, and not for the challenges, the pain, and the difficulties, but the triumphs that we've experienced on this journey. And so our ancestral wounds and burdens didn't dislodge us; they fortified us. They got us through the enslaved people working in the fields, the hangings, the beatings, those terrifying things. But then we had those in our communities who knew that freedom was our birthright, that we didn't deserve to be enslaved people. And so we have our Harriet Tubmans, and we have the building of the Black Wall Street, and on and on and on and on and on. And, of course, this collage is limited around the amazing things that we've done. But this is certainly to remind us that in spite of our challenges, still like air, we rise. The other thing that I think is just really super important as well is to hold space, to acknowledge our grief, and to be okay with that. It's sometimes we step back because we're strong women, we're powerful, we don't have to be in those moments of like breaking down. What's really important in healing is to break all the way down, and that's the place that we get to forgive ourselves and our ancestors, knowing that we're carrying some of that burden. Um, and so, any time and space that we have to connect with our elders, with our sisters, to create that space where we can break all the way down, you know, to just really expose the depths of that grief, because this is the work that we can't do alone. We come from a community of ancestors. We come from a community of beings who didn't do this alone. And we certainly should not be walking this journey of healing and forgiveness uh, only with ourselves. Of course, sometimes we have to take that space to be quiet, to be still, to assess ourselves. But then after we've done that, we need to come and bring that into community so that we can walk this road of life together. And so ultimately, what I think is super important for us to think about doing is to create rituals that we can exchange this forgiveness process, this healing process with our ancestors. And we are our ancestors returned. And so, doing the work, even with our ancestors on the other side, those ancestral energies that have returned, we need to do that work uh, in the here and now as well. And so, I believe that community gathering, which is ceremony, is so important in our healing. And so today I just wanted us to create just a little ceremony so that we can build our own ceremonies of forgiveness. And so I'm just excited to be able to just kind of create a little space for us today um, to work on creating not just an ancestral altar, which so many of us have, but just to be just really intentional about that forgiveness piece. And so, what I wanted to do today, being an herbalist, is that I wanted to talk about um, some herbs that we can use in different ways. So I'm just going to take just a little moment while the herbs are up on the screen. I'd love for you to just look at them and to look at what they do and to see the beauty in these flowers and these herbs that just create magic in our healing process. And a lot of these herbs our ancestors used in their magic, in their potions, in their healing, and all of the ways that we had to begin to think about making sure that we had protection, that we had some kind of ways to move through some of the agonies that we stood in. So I'm just going to stand up. I'm hoping that you can still see me. I'm just going to drag um, something that I kind of already set up a little bit. So just give me one little second to set this up. I'm gonna I'm just going to drag my computer screen down and hoping that you can see the screen and what I've set up here. Okie dokie. So all we need at any point in time is to just have a little basic altar, nothing fancy, nothing special. And I see a lot of bubbles in my water already, so I'm so excited that the ancestors are here with us today. So what we're going to do is we're just going to talk through 4 herbs that our ancestors used for these various reasons. Earth-based people always use so much earth-based energy to do whatever they needed to do. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to create a little altar for our ancestors so that we can create this altar of forgiveness and healing. So this is the altar. So I'm just going to go back up. I'm hoping you can all see me. Okie dokie. All righty. So I wanted to go over these herbs and talk about them a little bit. I know we don't have a lot of time, and so I really want to move through this expeditiously. So one of the herbs that I love so much is hawthorn berry. And hawthorn berry, I'm going to drag this down because I think that's going to be a little bit easier. This is hawthorn berries. These, you may find some a little bit more red. These I've had for a while, and sometimes they, you might see a little powdery stuff on them, which is great because they are berries. They do get sweet, and these are just really an amazing herbs. And what our ancestors did is that they used these to bring them closer to the heart of spirit. And so they use this for protection. They use this to communicate with the ancestors. And of course, it's a berry because it's sweet. And so anything sweet is going to bring us closer to that energy and that feeling of love and romance. And so, in our rituals or, our little magical stuff, we would sometimes use things to bring more love into our life. And sometimes we think that having partnership and a romantic partner is the thing that brings us balance. So the other herb is the flower. These are rose hips, which would eventually, flower into roses. We're going to use those. And roses come in many colors, not just red. This is some yellow roses that still carry that same kind of energy. And so rose is just an amazing and beautiful, beautiful flower. It's worldwide. Anybody that encounters roses just feels full of love and excitement and movement and just so much love. So the roses represent divine love, protection, and boundaries. Because one of the things about roses is that it just has these prickly, sticky, hard prongs on it. And so you really have to have good intention and good permission and good knowledge, good wisdom to walk in that divine love, because you can get stuck if you're not coming righteous, And so roses protect us. They allow us to have boundaries in love and in right relationships. So roses are just spectacular, beautiful, sweet, and wonderful. The other herb that I want us to add to our ritual today is holy basil. this, I just adore this herb beyond beyond. It is just so beautiful. It's just so sweet. The smell is just the aroma is beyond beyond for me. I just get intoxicated when I smell, of course, the regular basil that we use to cook with, and you can cook with this one as well. But this is a really beautiful herb. It has a lot of um, divine usage, especially in India. It's considered one of the highest divine herbs in many of their rituals. It stands for, of course, divinity, purity. It's a highly sacred herb, and it's also used for protection. So, one of the things that I love about loving herbs is that they also protect you. And that's the beauty and sacredness of um, all herbs, but particularly those that carry that energy of love and sweetness and care. And so yarrow and some of these herbs, you'll find them looking different, of course, when you first see them growing in nature. But once they're dry, they have a different look. And this is yarrow. Yarrow's also uh, sorry if I move too quickly. Yarrow is also like a spectacularly beautiful, beautiful herb. And you might want to just kind of do a little bit of research on the history of yarrow, which we don't have a lot of time to go into, but it's a highly, highly spiritual herb and it's super protective. It's been used in war to heal wounds. But it's also because it's used in that realm of like war, you want to make sure that you come out of the war protected. And so it's used for spiritual protection, setting boundaries. And, when we go to war, whatever the war is, the war to change your life, the war to accomplish your goals, whatever that moving into the battle is, because battle doesn't always have to be a negative thing, that you have courage to accomplish your goals. You have courage to change your life, that you have courage to honor yourself and your ancestors and to honor the life that we have. And so that's exciting. So again, we just have this little altar set up, and the ritual that I wanted to share with you today. I'm going to move my screen back up so that you could see me. Is that I wanted us to take these these four herbs and just anoint these herbs and call our ancestors in to participate with us. And so I want to encourage everyone to just create, in this moment, create a prayer, an invocation, a mantra, a chant, a poem, etc. It doesn't have to be, because not everybody is so called in a traditional religion or an established religion, but then we all still have ancestors that we can have right relationship with. And so there are many prayers out there on the internet, but I think that the most powerful prayer is the one that's coming from your heart. And so I wanted to just offer a little prayer over these, something like really spontaneous and quick, so that my ancestors can come and participate in this ritual, and that we can share this healing power of these herbs together, that they can come and say, yes, I remember those. I remember doing this with those herbs. So I want to make them excited to come by inviting them in. And so I invite my ancestors. Um, so my prayer is that I, the daughter of Wilhelmina Cox Bennett, who is still living, praise God, um, who's the daughter of Isabel Sneed Cox Carney, my grandmother, who is the daughter of Molly Eaton Sneed, And I accept the praise of you who are my great, great ancestors. I praise you. Um, I'm committed to and accept the responsibility, the challenge, and the work of healing the trail of grief that has lodged a wedge between us. I'm committed to bringing my whole self to this work of forgiveness that generations to come will live in wholeness, wellness, and the bright light of courage, liberation, truth, joy, and love. And I'm honored to walk this path with you, my ancestors. And so it is. And I want you to create your own prayer in this ritual that you can recreate. You can do anything in that prayer that you want. You can say whatever you want because, you know, your story is your story. Your relationship with your ancestors is your relationship. Um, and I also want to say that sometimes we don't always know our ancestors. Sorry. Some of us have been adopted or misplaced out of our families. It doesn't have to be your bloodline, if you're outside of that. But I want to encourage you to grab an ancestor from somebody else, like who can then go and find your ancestors and communicate with them. I think that we can call our ancestors through all these channels that we don't even know is available to us. So, all that to say is that we can all do this. We can all do this ritual, no matter where we stand. I mean, some people may want to anoint their altars by burning some sage um, or burning something else or spraying some Florida water or just some sweetness that they bring some spirit, some energy that's going to bring the ancestors in, clear the space for them so that they're going to be excited to come and sit with you in this ritual. And so again, this is pretty simple. It's pretty easy to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, and you can do the same, or you can use anything that you want. You can. We're going to put these herbs in a bag, any kind of like little pouch that you might have. It could be anything. I remember my grandmother. She used to take a handkerchief. This is one of her old handkerchiefs. And I remember she used to take, a lot of times the corner of the handkerchief, and she would be wrapping herbs in the corner of the handkerchief, and she would stuff that in her bra. And she might put something else in another corner. It could be some pennies, some coins, like all of that was her little ritual for protection or whatever she was thinking. A lot of times they didn't always say exactly what they were doing, but we knew that this was something that grandma did, something at the door. But this ritual is for us to carry um, this healing process with us, on our bodies or in our purse. Sometimes my grandmother used to stuff it in her waist, in her apron, or her underwear. But this would always be on her. Those herbs would always be on her somewhere. And again, it's a handkerchief. It could be a rag. It could be anything. These pouches, they have just come about, like newness, but we didn't have these kind of things growing up. We might sew some things together to create a pouch, but we didn't have these ready-made organdy kind of things, and that's okay. So just because you can see um, through this bag, I'm going to use this just because you can see through it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the herbs inside of this pouch, and I've already prayed over the herbs. I've already invited the ancestors. I've already set up space for them. And so I'm just going to put these herbs in. This is the yarrow for protection, for courage. I'm going to put in this beautiful Tulsi, sweet basil, yum. I'm going to put in these wonderful hawthorn berries, the sweetness of love. Then I'm going to put in my roses, yum. It doesn't have to be limited to these herbs. You might want to add something to here that's traditional in your thinking, things that you've been doing that you know your ancestors are excited that they've supported you doing. I grew up around tobacco, lots of tobacco. My my people picked tobacco. And so I'm going to just add some tobacco. We know that the first native people of this land used tobacco in much of their ritual life. And so because we picked it, because we harvested it, because we dried it, we smoked it, we dipped it, but we also used tobacco in our rituals. And so I'm just going to add some of that in thanks and praise to my great ancestors. I'm just going to add some of that. Another thing that I remember my grandmother having is like just little rocks, that she would sometimes put in her pouch, for whatever the reason. Maybe it grounded her. She didn't always say again why. So I'm just going to put a rock in for my grandmother. And again, you can add anything you want. You can add some crystals. Um, you can add some turquoise, in honor of the first native people. You know, I love cowrie shells, the abundance that it brings. So I'm just going to throw some cowrie shells in there. And again, just for the sake of visualization, I just wanted to put this in a bag that you can see through. Then I'm just going to close the bag up. We've already prayed over the things that are in here. If you wanted to maybe sage this again, to smoke it, to bring more cleanse and clarity to it, you might want to spray some fresh scent on it. Please do that. All righty. So this is the end of our ritual. I thank you so much. I pray that you will continue to bring that healing energy to you and your ancestors. I thank you now and forevermore.
Mm.
Yes.
Ashe, Ashe, oh, thank you, Sister Naya Kemi. Thank you.
Yes.
I
Claim your
wish
legacy.
I wish we had so much more time, but we have just a couple of moments, and I just want to say thank you for the ritual and see if in the next couple of moments that we have, what else you can share with us as we wrap up your offering today. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Thank you all so much. I just want to say claim your legacy. And as you walk through this process, walk like you have 3,000 ancestors walking behind you, because you do.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. And praises to our ancestors, all of them. And I just wanted to quickly offer some resources. Resources. Many of these books you probably know about or already have. Some of them have certainly been around for a while. Dr. Joy DeGruy. I met her as Dr. Joy Leary, but she wrote this book, Post Traumatic Slave Syndrome.
Mhm.
So please pick that up. Black Woman's Grief, My Grandmother's Hands, and The Ancestor Said. All of these books, I think, will just help you feel the pull to connect with your ancestors and to understand the grief that we're walking in and be charged to make a difference. So I thank you. I thank you, and I thank you.
Ah, Juliet Nayakemi Bennett, licensed acupuncturist and medicine woman. Thank you for blessing us with your words, your grace, the ritual. And ladies, I know that this was just a touch, just a tasting, but you can reach Nayakemi and you can do your own research. And the one thing I want to reiterate is something you said very early on in your chat, Sister Nayakemi. And this is how I took it in. If our gene pool lived in fear, then we are living in fear. And through forgiveness, we can change our gene pool for today and for the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
We
Ashe.
can create an inheritance through forgiveness. So thank you for reminding us of that. Once again, I'm so grateful that you decided to join us here at the symposium. And ladies, there's more to come. There is more to come. So continue to make time to take care of yourself. This is your time. This is your offering. This is for you. And Sister Nayakemi, blessings to you. Continual
Thank
blessings.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You. Blessings to you and everyone, always and forever.
Always and forever. Ashe.
Ashe.
Yes, yes. Mm.